Here we are once again on the Metis Matters radio show here on CFRO, and welcome to all of you listeners from across Canada, wherever you may be listening. My name is Ken Fisher, and this is the Metis Matters radio show, coming to you directly from the city of Vancouver, where it had a dumping of snow in certain parts here overnight, but generally speaking, it has now turned to rain, and we don't have to shovel it. But where I'm from, the city of Surrey, somebody had to shovel it. Wasn't me, it was my wife. And believe me, that's a big job. And I'm really thankful to get out of our yard. Anyway, I've been away, this is Ken Fisher, I've been away for a while with a broken foot. It is healing pretty good. It's a month since I crashed down on the ice in Kamloops, and feeling better every day. And the sum total of it is that be careful when you walk in dark places at night. I guess that's the lesson to be learned. But apparently these injuries are quite common. Anyway, I just want to say that we have a pretty good program for you today. And, of course, I'm looking to my left and to my right here, and I have two guests in the studio, Mr. Keith Henry. Good afternoon, Keith.
Yeah, thanks for having us here this afternoon.
My pleasure. And, of course, on my right, the illustrious ex-spokesperson for the CCMC, Mr. Daryl Piper.
Well, again, Ken, thanks for having us here, and it's great to see you back in action again.
Well, it's good to see you, too, because I hear you've been a very busy guy.
All the time.
Between the two of you, you guys are going out to these so-called town hall meeting sessions, and your plan is to hit every region in BC, because the Metis province for the MNBC is divided into 7 regions. You've been in Region 1 in Duncan. You've been in Region 2 in Surrey, which is a pretty good one there, at the town hall meeting at the Legion in Surrey. And recently you've been in the city of Kamloops.
That's correct. For
the meeting there, and then that was your third session covering Region 3 or the Okanagan region. And from what I hear from you and others, it's turned out pretty good.
Yeah, the attendance, it was, again, I think we had mentioned this right prior to Christmas, but just to recap, we had a number of folks there. It was a low turnout. It was about 9 or 10 people there, but half of which were from the MNBC. So it was nice to see them come out, and we thought they would at that time maybe come out, and we were glad to see them walk in the room. They didn't provide us any answers.
Come out and engage in meaningful dialogue, is what you mean.
Yeah, the coalition's work on the dialogue was all on a volunteer basis. It's called a Metis dialogue. That's right. What it was intended to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, will you be rated by them?
No, nor did we berate them. In fact, I think we tried to make a point during the meeting that let's talk about the issues at hand. It's not about personalities. And quite frankly, I've got a lot of reasons to take things personally. The fact that I'm being sued and everything else, but that's never been... I've taken this role on, and I've agreed to speak on behalf of the coalition about the issues and not about my personal
the voice you're hearing is the voice of Keith Henry, who is now the chief spokesperson for the Coalition of Concerned Métis Citizens, and the ex-CEO, of course, of the Métis Nation BC, up to about September 2008. You've got to keep that in mind. And Keith, you stood back for quite a while and took a lot of shots and a lot of insulting things thrown your way right after that, and you decided to, if I remember right, you decided to kind of take a back seat a little bit and say, okay, I can withstand these barbs in the interest of the Métis and not make it look like there's a big kind of a cat fight going on.
Well, I tried my best, actually. It's funny you should say that, because I've spent countless hours wondering, at the time I left, and you're right, I took a lot of crap from a lot of people unfairly. Yeah. And, I just sort of let the criticisms roll off my back. I think you have to do that.
They thought because you didn't speak up that you were accepting the accusations, and you were scared to step forward and defend yourself, but it proved to be not true.
No, in fact, it's been the polar opposite, I would argue. I just always felt that our job, anytime you're a senior administrator or an elected leader, your job is to do what's in the best interest of the Métis people. And if that means not having a fight, then maybe sometimes it's better just to walk away. At that point, that's how I felt, and I think it was the right decision at that time.
Well, it's obviously, although it hasn't turned out that way up to now, but it's a way of not airing your dirty laundry in public.
Right.
And what it really comes down to in many cases.
And the reason why I joined the coalition, I want to put it out there. I've tried to say this, I think, on your phone when I phoned in previous shows. I didn't start the coalition. I can look across the table at Daryl and look at the people like him and Erlene Bitterman and others that really took the lead on that. And I joined the coalition because of, I believe they were the people that were going to do something.
Right. So on that note, the thing is, you continue in your new position as the official spokesperson, keep sending out different evaluations of the performance of the Métis Nation BC, and there's some interesting things coming across the monitor of the internet.
Well, we've been trying to. I've been working with many people or coalition members and just trying to make sure that we help people understand that we got to get beyond personal politics and petty politics. We got to talk about the issues. And I think, we look at this week about what we put out, and I'd like to talk a bit about that today, if at all possible. We had talked about the sort of the current, I guess, Spirit Festival that's supposed to be a sort of a remembrance celebration of the Olympic Games, which of course we all know was a major success in so many ways here in Vancouver. And I think we tried to point out the fact that certainly the coalition supports the ideas of spirit festivals with the province, and we're glad they're doing these things. What we don't understand is the role of MNBC and how this money was intended to help support festivals and cultural events. And
are you talking about the Olympics or the Spirit Festival?
Well, now I'm transferring how they've taken this program that's a result of the Olympics to help us all remember what happened in Vancouver in the month of February last year beginning. Now they
seem to be very selective about who got what in there. And I'm not saying they were completely selective, because I know they came to our group in Nova and offered us some free tickets, among other things.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of transitioning not so much about the Olympics, but I'm talking about the actual Spirit Festival now that MNBC has put in place. They were awarded $36,000 and change. From
a provincial ministry.
That's right, the provincial minister. And we know that. There was a press release that came out from the MNBC on November 19th. Many of us saw it on the MNBC website. Celebrating the fact that they got $36,700. And there was a lot of statements in there, and it says, watch for official festival announcements on the MNBC website and local media. Well, I live here in the Lower Mainland. I certainly haven't seen anything about the Spirit Festival, and
very little.
And in fact, if you go on the MNBC website, we've pointed out in the press release, the fact is there's nothing there other than this announcement, and now it's February 12th today.
Almost 2 months after they made the announcement.
That's right.
But see, the funny thing is they didn't say much. All I understand is that it's going to be at the school in Abbotsford, 30691 Simpson Road. It's going to be a festival, and I guess what we need to know is just what is the function of all this, and how is this going to improve the culture of the Métis people?
Well, and I think it's an important discussion, because I know Métis artisans did try and contact MNBC to understand how were Métis artists, how could they participate in this event, which we all know cultural support is very limited in this province, especially for the Métis.
Let's talk about Métis artisans. What does that mean? It means fiddlers, people who play the fiddle and play Métis fiddle tune, people who know how to jig, do the dance that the Métis celebrate themselves, and maybe I guess what else? Know a little bit about history, where some of them wear the trappings of the traditional Métis. By that I mean, I don't mean a trapping for stuff, but furs, buckskin jackets, and beading, and the sashes like we have here on the table today, Métis sashes present, and of course the Métis Infinity flag is all over the place. So what we try to do, if there is any festival, is to try to let anybody else who isn't Métis and doesn't know just what these are things that represent the Métis, and so how is that going to be done at the Spirit Festival? I don't know, but the very name Spirit Festival sometimes astounds me.
Well, I think what we're saying is that I think that these are important events. However, Métis artists across the province, if they should have equal opportunities, and the communities. To me, the question is more around, and I try to carefully describe that. I think in the coalition press release. Would it not have been a better investment to have MNBC take the lead on this and actually put a proposal in to help support events within each of the chartered communities? That gets to the grassroots Métis people. Now, some people may view it one way better. I view it personally, and I think the coalition members, that's been part of our ongoing discussion. You can't have supporting the same artists over and over and over. We have to help build the community. How many of our community citizens out there don't even understand their culture to this day still? It's huge.
A lot of them, because the generation gap, Yeah. Anyway, let's take a little bit of a break for a couple of other activities. We're going to play another Métis fiddle tune, and we'll get back and turn our attention to our other guest in the studio right after we come back. But in the meantime, The fact of the matter is, if you want to give us a call here on any subject about Métis, or have a question for our guests, well, don't forget that number, 604-684-7561. You got that, folks? 604-684-7561. Now, we're going to play off the same CD we started off with, and it's a tribute to Walter Flett. I picked this up in Ottawa a couple of years ago, and we're going to play here a number called Pierre Houle, Mouth of the Tobique, Grumpy Old Man, Growling Old Woman, and Les Dépetus. So let's hear that. We'll be right back. Here we are once again on the Métis Matters Radio Show on CFRO. And don't forget, it's just about 17 minutes after 5 o'clock here on the west coast of Canada, where it's supposed to rain tonight. So let's go right to the line. We have a caller. So go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, Ken. I'm glad to hear you back. It's good to hear your voice.
Thank you very much. And where are you calling from?
This is April from the good old north.
April from way up north in Terrace or Prince Rupert?
Prince Rupert, Northwest Métis Association, Prince Rupert. Hello to Keith and to Daryl as well.
Very good. Now, I have a question.
April, how you doing?
A question came up the other day. Are you back and reinstated as a society in good standing?
No, this is why I'm calling now.
But have you contacted?
We've applied, and unfortunately, the forms that we were given by.
No, but have you contacted the Society Act people in Victoria?
The this is what I was just going to tell you. We had actually gone to our local, it's not the government agent anymore, but we'd gone to that office and were given forms, and we've had them returned because there's a change in policy and we hadn't filled in the right forms, which we're going to be doing and getting them in. However, I was just sort of responding to Keith's notation on the website that about our charter being pulled last August. Now, that was a strictly political move by the MNBC, and in fact, we were actually told that by Sid Pelche, who's the vice president of the Terrace Métis community.
And it's illegal, too, I believe.
Yeah, it is. But he told us that my comments and the standing of the fact that my community stands behind me and supports CCMC, that had forced the MNBC to pull our charter. So we're also aware, and this is why I'm calling, we're also aware at present there's a move to create another Métis association in Prince Rupert. This is being done by the MNBC.
Well, actually, there's a law that says only one in each community.
Yeah, and because we haven't reapplied for reinstatement, they're trying to form another community. But they're doing it in a very misleading way. They're calling people up from the community and telling them that they're regrouping our Métis Association, and that's not true at all. The Northwest Métis Association is still functioning. We meet the second Wednesday of each month at our office in the museum annex at 7 p.m. At this time, we've chosen not to seek renewal of our community charter with MNBC, mainly due to the huge debt and the lack of accountability and financial planning and control by the MNBC board. If and when that situation changes, of course, we'll revisit our decision to remain independent, and we would definitely support a healthy and transparent and accountable MNBC that follows the policies and procedures and the MNBC Constitution. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, but you see, if I remember, it was an attempt by them to limit your travel to the AGM, and if that's the case, then they must have succeeded because they didn't pay your way there, did they?
No, but I was still there.
I know you were. Any answers to that, Keith?
Well, April, it's Keith here, and thanks for the call, and I just want to comment on this. It's a big issue. I think we've raised it at the coalition. As you know, it's on the website, and you don't want to get always caught up, because, I mean, a lot of the listeners may or may not realize what's going on, and I just want to step back for one quick second before I sort of comment on this. The Métis Nation in BC, based on our constitution, as Ken has always pointed out many times for radio shows, 3 levels of governments. There's the provincially elected board of directors. That number's 11. As you know, you guys in Northwest elect a regional director. And, of course, the women vote for the provincial women's chair. And the youth vote for the provincial youth chair. And, of course, the citizens in the Northwest also elect the vice president and the president of the MNBC. So, really, you cast a number of votes for that provincial board. The second level is the regional governance councils, and that's composed of the third level, which is the chartered communities. Now, MNBC, in the development of our constitution, I know because I was quite involved at one time, and it wasn't just me, it was a number of people, but I contributed in some small ways to the governance. There was it was recognized there needed to be a sort of a clear relationship between the chartered community, as we call it in many cases now today, and the MNBC itself as a governing body. So these agreements were put in place, and I just want to say that part of those agreements were that the societies or the communities were to be non-profit corporations, as you well know, and that's a fair statement. What the coalition has said in this situation, as you well know, and we've talked to you privately about this on several occasions, the way that they removed your charter for that reason, although to the outsider they may look at that and say, well, that made sense because maybe they weren't in good corporate standing. The fact remains today, and we've said it publicly, there are a number, and I repeat, a number of chartered communities in this province that have been not in good standing for some time. We've known for the last 10 months that there's in the area of 10 chartered communities right now that either are not incorporated, are not in good standing for not filing their annual reports for at least 3 years.
And yet they don't target them.
Well, that's my point. So if the MNBC leadership is going to remove a chartered community for a reason, and it in this case there was some validity to the part that it wasn't in good standing, then you better fairly apply it to all, because otherwise it's not fair justice for everyone. And that's our case. I mean, was it not the point of the MNBC to support the chartered communities, to help them with these very issues? I thought that was the point of governance.
Exactly, and we have received no assistance from them whatsoever. I believe the president from Terrace was talking to Vice President Hodgson, and he told her that they had sent out a letter to us advising us that we were not in good standing. Well, neither I nor any member of my association received any kind of documentation, whether letter, email, telephone call, or anything to assist us whatsoever. And this all began because we were supporting our regional director, and we stood very firm on that when he was let go and...
Suspended is the word.
Suspended. I'm sorry, Ken, my mind is wandering with my cold. But he was suspended because we had written a letter asking about the financing for the 2008 election, and that's what it all boiled down to. And we stood very firm, and we refused to accept their suspension. We refused to allow them to put someone else in Rene's place, and that's exactly why they have pulled our charter.
I say stand your ground. Don't give up, and don't give in to anything they try to do. Anything they try to do is to put another one in that same place, in that same town as you live in, is illegal and contrary and absolutely. Don't forget, there's another clause there that within the Charter Community Mutual Agreement that was signed. It said either party can, by notice, put in a notice of within 120 days to withdraw.
Yeah.
Now, they could have given you that option.
Exactly. There was nothing done.
Nothing at all done. So they're going contrary to the very document that they mutually signed and your society signed.
Yeah, they gave us a letter less than a month before the AGM to let us know that we were not in good standing, so they pulled our charter.
Well, from some circles, you know what they call that, and in many other political, that's called dirty tricks. So let's hope they don't. They got to do something about that. So, have you got a question or comment on that, Daryl?
No, other than the fact that, as you say, April, it's purely political, and we don't need that, and it's just not fair. And CCMC will continue to work with you, and we're not going to let this one go either.
No, and I just want to say, April, did you guys as a board think about filing a complaint with the Senate at all on this, or what was was that discussed at all as a board of directors?
Well, we discussed it as a board of directors, but we really haven't discussed it with the community yet, and I like to do that before we make any decision. But given the past history of what's gone on and the most recent history with Therrien and that, I don't really have much faith in the Senate.
Right.
So,
well,
that's just another road for disappointment, I think.
Anyway, thank you for your call, but there's a need to keep their feet to the fire, and we'll be discussing this in detail, and we'll be sending you emails on the best way to go. So thank you once again for your call.
And April, just actually, before you go, April, one final comment. Just remember that the coalition will be up in Terrace for the Northwest region. That's right, February 5th, and the hotel details are available on the CCMC website, and that certainly we're looking to see yourself and many others.
Oh, we'll be there, no problem.
Yeah, because I really think it's around, we have to have this dialogue, and we have to say why our governance right now seems to not be working. And there is your issue isn't isolated. People, there's the MNBC supporters that have just, I liken it to watching an ostrich sticking their head in the sand and hoping it all goes away. I mean, I don't mean to be, I guess joking about it, but
no.
But I mean, the fact is, I can say the coalition has got many more members signing up recently, especially recently. People are really starting to wake up that whether they thought the coalition was the negative and that we were misleading people. I think that people, because of the fact-based approach we brought forward, that we do need to talk. The coalition issues, number one, was governance. This speaks to governance. I mean, I can't say that enough. I mean, the role of the MNBC is to help their communities, not to set aside. I mean, they have, in my mind, a moral responsibility to help their communities through the good and the bad, whether you agree or not. And I know that good governance does those sort of things. So it's disappointing, and I just want to just say thank you for sticking it in there, and look forward to seeing you in February.
No problem, Keith. And I agree with you 100% that communication is key. And I did want to call in mainly today to let anybody who's listening from our region know that we're still in business, and we're having our meeting tonight at 7 o'clock at the Museum Annex, and you're certainly anyone is certainly welcome to come.
Very good.
Are you going, Ken?
Yeah, I'm going to fly. Okay, well, thanks, April.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
the
much.
call.
Take care of that cold, April.
I will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Keith. Well, you heard her talk, and the thing is, it's a farce the way they've tried to disengage that person from being part of the MNBC, because don't they even read their own chartered agreement? It's a mutual agreement. This party, the MNBC, and the chartered community agree to do this, and it's on either side of the fence, and they got to do, and they both got to follow it. But to just look in by some obscure means and say you are no longer in good standing. Well, even if that were the case, we'll give you 30 days to straighten it out. You just got to phone the registrar in Victoria and get it done.
Well, and I think, and I agree. I mean, governance, I can't say enough. Like, to me, the elected leadership has to go above and beyond and be beyond reproach about how they've dealt with these situations. And surely these things happen, and we all know that. But when we know for a fact there's many other chartered communities right now today, if anyone goes and does a corporate search and pays the few dollars it takes to do that, I can tell you go on that MNBC website and do the corporate search, it will tell you there is a number of them. They're not. So if they've taken that stand, that hasn't changed in 8 months, why haven't they taken it with everyone else in?
Makes you
wonder.
wonder.
If you're going to apply the law, apply it fairly and equally, one way or the other.
Makes you wonder.
And really what it really disturbs me a great deal is that what's the point of having a constitution and a governance if you're not going to go by that?
Yeah.
Okay, but the question is, who did she get the letter from? Did she get it from the lawyer for Joe Garlick, or did they get it from
well,
Bruce
my understanding,
Dumont?
if I recall correctly, was from Bruce himself as president of the MNBC.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, anyway, let's leave it at that for now, and let's go back to music for a short tune by this tribute to Walter Flett CD, and this is a song called Red River Medley, so let's hear that. Okay, we're back on the Metis Matters Radio Show here on CFRO 102.7 FM, and I want that number once again. If you want to make a call, it's 604-684-7561. My name's Ken Fisher. I'm your genial host and moderator here, and from the studios of CFRO at Vancouver Co-op Radio on the downtown east side, the city of Vancouver, right here in the heart of the Tenderloin, where you can almost see anything down here. People walking back and forth. It seems to be very busy doing things, and it's a Wednesday. I don't know, considering the date. Anyway, it is a very, very busy part of town. Many people look at this part of town and never come down to this part of town. It really isn't that bad if you mind your own business. It's really not. And I look at some of the people walking by, and I really have a pity for them, because they are the downtrodden of the city, walking around here in many ways. And this is where they all gather. And they're not all First Nations either, or Aboriginal. There's all kinds of, from every walk of life down here. And we can, we're trying to make jest about it, but it really is a tragic situation, because there's a lot of drugs, alcohol abuse, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, you want to give us a call, 604-684-7561. There's a number to call. And, of course, I want to remind you, my guest in the studio on my right is Mr. Daryl Piper with the CCMC. I wish somebody from the MNBC would give us a call and give us their explanation. By the way, I always used to do this before I got my injury on my foot, my ankle, and I said at any given time there's a standing invitation for any member of the Métis Nation BC Board of Directors to phone in here anytime, or even come down here and be a guest on this show and explain this to the people of the Métis people in BC. A standing invitation. Any takers? I wonder. I kind of think not, because mind you, I'm not saying they haven't been on. Melanie's been on mostly, but Bruce and company, the executive, and them people haven't been on in months and months and months. They just stay away. There seems to be a code of silence on the part of the board of directors that says, don't say nothing. Why don't we just keep our hands to our ears? We don't hear nothing, and everything will go away and everything will be okay. Well, it doesn't work that way, folks. And the reality is the coalition is revealing all these revelations that most people don't even understand, because the financial figures are just outrageous.
So yeah, on that, I guess maybe I will. The coalition did release today, an inside look, we called it, on the press release. It's on our website if folks have been there. It's
Can you summarize it? Can you summarize it?
I will. I'm certainly not going to read it. It basically, what the coalition, what we've been working on, we've come up with a figure of in 2010, 2011, there's an estimation of a going forward deficit this year of at least $1 million or so. And so what we thought we would do is help people understand where we got that figure from. We had an independent chartered accountant, if you recall, last October, Sandy Aird, a gentleman by the name of that, take a look at the numbers and draw the same conclusions. So we shared just sort of what we've put together in terms of an actual budget, a little bit of a cash flow over 12 months. And really what we did was we tried to break down the core operations of MNBC, the key admin staff, going on the board expenses. They've been spending about $700,000 a year, and of course the MNBC administrative costs, but based on the line items that were in the MNBC financial statements in 2009, 2010. And what we did is we simply, extrapolated them over 12 months equally to show that in 2010, 2011, for example, in the months of April, May, June, July, etc., they're going to need about $230,000 a month just for the core operations. This isn't all of their staff.
$230,000 a month?
That's correct.
In real money?
Minimally is what I'm saying. This is a very
Where's the money coming from to even service all that?
Well, they get, basically MNBC has about $11 million, as we know, from a variety of programs and services. And how they fund that core element, from my understanding, based on the financials, is they've got, you can see there's some core funding, there's some tripartite self-government funding, and they get that, that 10 or 15% admin off programs. So we actually applied in our sort of just simple analysis of, if it's 15% across the board, what would that actually look like? And for example, this year, if these numbers are even close to correct on the first forecast, we're looking at MNBC realizing a deficit of $1,151,922 this fiscal year. Now that's in addition to what the current deficit is at right now. And the current deficit at the MNBC, excluding the financial risk of debts and loans, is about $1.8 million. So now that brings the actual debt to this organization, potentially, if these numbers are even close to correct, in the area of about $3 million this year.
Okay, but take us back to the AGM in September, and those figures came out then at what the debt was, based on the reports, their financial reports, which never passed, by the way. Now, where's that at?
Well, the debt was last year.
To September.
Only till March 31st, right? The financial statements of 2010. They were from April 1st, 2009 to March 31st, 2010. In that 12-month period, MNBC realized an actual debt of $1.3 million. Of which $965,000 of that was admin. The previous fiscal year was $248,000, so that you see a substantial increase. And why? Partly, what that we're saying is things like buying the school, not having enough administration funds for the core operations of MNBC. what MNBC is supposed to be doing is creating business plans for each department and their admin to actually make sure they got enough money to cover these expenses. A non-profit organization going now to a total debt of $1.8 million, or it's actually $1.788 million as of last March, is significant. And now, based on what our assumptions are this fiscal year, what we've been telling people, pay attention, leadership and everyone included, including the MNBC if they're listening, based on the forecasts we believe are reasonably accurate.
Your projections. Yeah.
We're saying that we're on track for at least another 1.3 million and our 1.1 million this year to bring it to 3 million.
1.1 million up to March 31st,
just
2011.
This fiscal year. Just for this fiscal year.
Up to 2011, March 31st.
That's right.
That's what your projection is.
And in fact, we put it the next year, we forecasted it based on what the numbers, what we were seeing next year, is another additional, and those numbers, 1.27 million. So we've got, unless someone has a real clear plan about how, I heard about this debt recovery plan, we're beyond debt recovery. We need a complete restructuring of our business plan model. And this is very serious. I mean, I say this, and I've been, emphatic about that, because I really believe a lot of our leaders are yet to still fully realize, and someone's going to say at the end of this, well, geez, we should have done something about it, and it may be too late. And even if we sold the school today, the school is so financed to the hilt that we don't even know if you could sell that school for what you owe on it right now.
There's something going on out there. Apparently, they're moving everything out of that school. I don't know what's going on.
I've heard the same thing. As we know, they've now moved the finance out of there. So how much are these things costing the nation? They've moved finance, the registry.
The registry out of there, and I don't know what's going to be left in there.
Well, it begs the question: what was the intent of the school? I come back to that. What was the
training?
Well, I understand that, but if that was the intent, then if you heard in the CBC interview, Melanie compared the MNBC office downtown to the MNBC office in Abbotsford, but you can't compare those because you're comparing a government organization to a trade school. Those are not the same things, and I keep saying that. What the trade school should have been set up is an arm's length corporation with limited liability back to the MNBC, and because I assume from what I can see, we haven't done the right corporate due diligence, we haven't sheltered ourselves from these liabilities properly, which is what a good administrator and tax lawyer and legal advisor would have done. Now, who's going to be responsible for paying for this school? We know there's outstanding taxes. I still believe the municipal taxes haven't been paid.
Let's talk about that limited liability for a minute.
That's right.
If there's no limited liability, who is liable?
Well, the Métis Provincial Council of British Columbia, as the actual non-profit society, would actually be responsible for that.
11 directors?
Well, they say there's personal liability in the financial statements. But you know as well as I do, I've talked about this, the challenge once these kind of situations happen, and I've seen it happen throughout Canada with Aboriginal organizations, people walk away, leave a massive debt, and...
Yeah, but don't they have liability insurance for such a thing?
But liability insurance, in most cases, is only applicable as if they made decisions not knowing the details.
So this is like negligence almost.
Well, you're going to have to prove to any insurance adjuster or insurance officer, if you will, that you actually had a business plan, that you did full due diligence, that you understood the tax implications, and so on and so on. I mean, these are complicated matters. And I think we walked into the school, if I heard the presentation correctly, from 2009. We saw an empty school and decided within 4 months this was a good idea. I'm sorry, this should have had a proper feasibility study and a business plan. You cannot enter into business without good due diligence. This should have been at least a year process of consultation, corporate structuring.
Hasn't there been a not a feasibility study, but a business plan presented since then?
I haven't seen I've seen a lot of ideas. I haven't seen a business plan, and I think that's the challenge we're going to have going forward, is that because of I'm not clear, I haven't seen anything publicly. We've asked for it many times, and I'd love to see it.
Okay, give us a chance to digest all this, what you just said, because it's heavy-duty stuff for sure. And this is the Métis Matters radio show on CFRO. My name's Ken Fisher. We're going to take a break for music. We're going to go to the master Métis fiddler from Saskatoon, Mr. John Arcand, playing a well-known tune that we all know and love. It's number 9, called Road to Batoche. Okay, here we are back on the Metis Matters radio show after that beautiful song by John Arcon called Road to Batoche. And as a matter of fact, I did take the Road to Batoche this summer, and it was a great event, but unfortunately, I met some of my cohorts from the MNBC, and in some cases, the other fact is, some of them, met a couple of them, they kind of made me feel like a poor relative. So I don't know if I was quite welcomed by them, but consequence of that is we do have a phone call, because we do invite phone calls, and the number is 604-684-7561, but go right to the line. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, welcome, Ken. It's Rene Therrien.
Rene Therrien from Region 6.
Region 6 Terrace.
Yes, please go ahead with your question or comment.
Well, definitely I want to thank Keith and Daryl for doing an excellent job while you were recuperating.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
And, of course, I want to wish all of you a Happy New Year, and everybody that's supporting me in my region.
Well, go ahead. Besides that, how's things going with you? Given that you are one of the suspended directors
for insubordination.
Right. Well, I'm still doing my job, trying to. It's not easy. It's pretty hard to do it effectively, but I'm doing the best I can, and I do have a lot of support yet. And I don't know if it's ever going to be. If it's ever going to work out, but so far so good.
It's been about a year now, hasn't it?
It has been, yeah. It'll be a year in a couple of weeks, I believe.
That's atrocious, the way they have treated their fellow board members. And to what end, I don't know. They just try to squelch you and not be accountable and not let you have at least a voice in how the Métis Nation BC should be conducted and run. And, of course, the four accused have still not come to the point where they're ready to open an investigation into the allegation that they were accused of.
Yeah, I believe it was personal. But I do have a comment regarding this festival that MNBC is putting on at the end of this month.
The Spirit Festival of something.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable that they're not supporting the artists.
You yourself are a talented Métis fiddler, and no one has invited you down, have they?
Exactly. No, it would seem to me that at this point of time that our Métis leaders are not interested in promoting our culture and supporting our artists. As Métis citizens, we need to hang on to our culture at any cost. What I'm seeing is the CCMC is actually doing that.
And, of course, they're constantly promoting what we do, Métis fiddle, jigging, all the other good stuff that goes along with who the Métis people are.
Exactly, and I believe, that is part of our history, our language, our story, our legend, and I believe that's what defines who we are.
Well, so Daryl has a comment on this. Let's hear what he has to say.
I agree with you, Rene. Our culture is the most important thing. We really need to do more to promote our culture, and right now in the last year, MNBC has done absolutely nothing for culture. And this is what I've heard right across the country. As you know, Rene, earlier this year in the summer, I did a little bit of traveling to northern BC, and I went to a few festivals. And in fact, yours was one of them, the Riverside Festival. And people were asking me questions there that they said they didn't get. They haven't been getting the support from MNBC. I think they said that the CEO Melanie Langthorpe gave them $50, and I think it was Bruce Dumont gave them $50. Well, $100 for something like that is just pathetic. And another region I went into was Williams Lake in the Chilcote and Caribou region, and they received absolutely nothing from MNBC. So, I just think it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, Rene, I'd like to also ask, it's Keith here, you were the former Minister of Culture, Language and Heritage at one time?
Yes, I was, yep.
So how, given the resources, how would you have, I guess I'd like to know how you would have done things, I guess, with that sort of $36,700 for a Spirit Festival. How would you have supported the communities and the artists?
Well, to me, I think it would have been better to give each the region or the community the money. Let them decide who to invite and enjoy more people. Right now, the traveling is actually very costly, and I believe what I'm seeing here is only a chosen few. So that money should have been like a few years ago. I believe there was most of the community had received I don't know how much money, but they had received some money for Louis Riel, and that was well spent, and everybody enjoyed it in our own region. So they should have done the same thing. actually divide it and then send it to each region and let them, enjoy their, promote their artists.
Yeah, no, I'd like to just make one follow-up comment on that. I think it's an important point because, it's not all about, I guess it is different people have different approaches, but as I said earlier when we were talking about this subject, so few people have an opportunity to actually see authentic Métis culture out there, and I watch, this event happening in Abbotsford, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an event in Abbotsford, but to have all of that there, I'd certainly like to know what sort of spending will happen. I want to know the budget. I'd sure love to see exactly what happens, and I think as a governing body they should provide and disclose that information, at least the categories. From what I gathered from responses to the individual artists, there's 20 scholarships or 20 awards of $150 max. That's $3,000. Where's the other $33,000 going towards? And if it's only to pay for travel for leaders to come and enjoy that event, I don't think that's acceptable.
Why is it all being funneled down to Abbotsford when there's 7 regions in this province where the Métis have locals?
And in the letter did get sent to the director, as we know, or the current minister, Henry Hall, and I certainly have yet to receive any response, even acknowledgement of receipt. It certainly didn't bounce back from his email. We know it went successfully. So I look at that and I just say to myself, if there was any sort of honest transparency and accountability, someone would say something. So Rene, I just want to let you know that I certainly support your work and your efforts, and I'm glad you're sticking it out up in the Northwest region.
And that you will be in his region real soon.
Yes, as we said to April, I guess it's the Northwest night tonight, I guess, earlier, but we did certainly, we will be there on February 5th in your backyard.
Good. I'm looking forward to see both of you.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
And I want to thank you again for doing a good job on the radio show.
They did excellent, and I'm sure glad you phoned in, so thank you for the call.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, Ken, I just want to let you know that a couple of radio stations have approached us to take on some other shows, so we might have
maybe you got a call from the CBC,
the CBC
to take over the whole show.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, let's go right back to the lines. We have another caller, so go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, hello. It's Harold Morin calling, and I just
Harold Morin from up in the Prince George area.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
You're one of our colleagues.
Yes, and I've been involved, quite a number of years, and I heard the comments with respect to the Spirit Festival, but it seems that all our programs are being affected. I believe the Spirit Festival is only.
Oh, we lost him. Are you there, Harold?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, but to me, all the programs that we have are being affected. And the question that I would like to pose to either any one of you who wants to respond is, we have a massive deficit. It appears that our organization is heading into bankruptcy. We don't have any money to deliver programs and services at the end of the day if we ever end up closing our doors. The question that I have, why are we not getting any response from our leadership? We've entrusted them with the responsibility to take care of our finances, and we see that we're running all these massive deficits.
Good questions, Harold.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to interject here. I think that you're right, and I think I've said it. That was the point of the press release that went out today, to help people understand that this is a very serious issue. It's not going to be solved overnight. I get the impression that, based on what we heard in Kamloops from MNBC representatives, that they think that this debt recovery plan, and I've heard rumblings about moving a few management out of there now, and I mean that's not acceptable to me if those are the simple answers they've got. I mean, there's got to be a detailed financial plan about how we're going to get back. And I believe right now, given that it's February, we're already 11 months into this fiscal year. We're still looking and evaluating numbers from last year. We right now, this day, could be at least $2.5 to $2.8 million in actual cash debt, and that is very serious. And the impacts of that are going to affect those students in school. They're going to affect the people getting what little limited health programs we've got, the youth programs. That's not right. And I think if we stand by and let that happen as a nation, then we all have to share in that responsibility.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Harold. We appreciate your comments, and we're running about a time here, so thank you for your call. Appreciate your input.
Oh, Harold, just one quick last thing. The coalition will be there next weekend, and just to let you know, for the North Central region, we will be at the Ramada Hotel from 11 till 4. There'll be a 2-hour cultural show from 11 till 1, and then the actual coalition meeting from 1 till 4.
Okay, let's go on. We have one more caller,
Perfect.
so
Thank you.
thanks, Harold. Okay, right now, let's go right back to the lines. We have another caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, everybody. It's Beverly calling.
Beverly.
Matey Bev.
Beverly who?
How about a cultural facilitator?
Beverly Lambert,
Yes.
the jigging champion.
Oh, yeah, if you want to call it that, okay. Anyway, I just wanted to make a comment about the Spirit Fest here. Of course, I'm disappointed again, and that, all of I really like promoting everybody across the province, and it's disappointing that we're not going to see that. And also, for 36,000, whatever amount of money they got, is not very much money at all.
Yeah, but have you been invited as an artisan to be jigging at that festival?
No, I wasn't invited.
And
but,
why not? And why not?
I have no idea. But
are they boycotting you or something?
I guess so. I don't know, but it doesn't worry me because I've got a positive attitude, and if
but you're the best, and you reflect the Métis part of the jigging experience that everybody knows. We've seen you perform so many times in so many ways.
Well, I really thank you for that that encouragement, and also a lot of the communities out there really do like having me and want to promote culture, and I'm there 100% all the time, and my heart is with them every step of the way, and if they need me to come down and help to promote it, I will.
How they can stand by and ignore you is beyond me.
That's
what do you think, Keith?
Well, I just want to say, Beverly, I know we did talk a little bit about this last week, but this new revelation, and I did see the emails where you actually weren't invited, but you actually inquired of the MNBC about, how you could participate, and the fact that they said it was already planned. I really think that it is very unfortunate. I think it's unfair, and I think of all the people, like I could see them doing that to someone that is outspoken, such as some of our key coalition members, or maybe myself, but for someone like you, I can't understand how they can't put their political agenda to the side and realize what's in the best interests of the Métis Nation. So I just want to again say hang in there, and that the communities will support you.
Yeah, they said they would put me on the list. They did say that they would include me in the program, but it's like I felt like a third wheel, so I was like, okay, time to move on. But I do want to, on a positive note, that actually the CCMC is actually going to be helping me in this venture, and I think it's time that everybody in the communities, especially those little, like I say, those little dancers that we have in our kitchens and stuff I've been seeing when I'm traveling across the province, that really touches my heart, and I want so bad to promote them, our singers, our beaters, that I think the CCMC is going to be helping me put together a Proud to be Métis artisan registration list, so that we can start somewhere again, and we do have that list of people, their children or whatever, and our youth and our elders that are.
And they won't be able to.
We finally need to get together something on a website that can tie our communities to the world and let them know who we are. And yes. I'm passionate about that.
Okay, Bev. Well, thank you for your time in here today. We're running out of time.
Thank you, Daryl and Keith, and everybody out there.
You betcha. That was Bev Lambert phoning in from City of Surrey. We got to wrap it up, Keith. So, any last comments?
No, I just think this show is another example of the community speaking. Whether it's from all parts of the province, we heard from the Northwest, North Central people. No one wants to see the MNBC as a governing body not make it, but we got to make changes, and people got to wake up to that fact.
Okay, and Daryl.
Yeah, and just to add to what Beverly was talking about, I had the opportunity to work with Beverly for about a year, and she certainly is representative of our culture, and she is a proud Métis person, and it was a pleasure working with you, Beverly.
Okay, thank you both for coming in today. I hope we gave some news out and played a little bit of music. So we're going to finish off the show today with a song called Big John McNeil by John Arcan. My name's Ken Fisher. Tune in again next week. You can reach us anytime at novamétis@shaw.ca. Send us an email. Otherwise, we'll be back here same time, same station a week from now on CFRO 102.7 FM.